Mister.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Panchakapaturischa kripa sindhuveva patitanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, Prabhu, do we know how many people are there? I just see four names on the screen.
They'll be joining, Prabhu. I think I'll share the.
Okay. All right. Prabhupada said that even if sometimes we find ourselves big crowds, sometimes, all of us, chance to speak to a large crowd, sometimes small. Prabhupada said, even if no one is there, we should preach to the trees. So, if it was springtime, I'd open the window and talk to the trees, but it's a little too cold, so hopefully they can hear us. But let's begin. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Picharnine Nirvasesha Shinivadi Pashtacharis Janane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hari Ram, Hari Ram, Ram Ram, Hari Hari. So since this is Bhagavatam, maybe I'll just kind of individually, just one time, go through Jai Radha Madhava, since that was what Prabhupada always did to invoke auspiciousness before giving his classes. So Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Lord Premanandi. So, it was nice to be with so many of you last night at the temple. So this morning I'm actually at Premananda and her husband's home, and but I have the verse 3. What do we understand? It's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 14. I don't know what your normal system is. It's hard to do call and response, as you've all experienced. So probably you just read it once and then the purport. So I'll do that. I wish you all a happy trip to work today, and hope you're being inspired by eating breakfast, which probably many of you are doing, or cooking breakfast still for your deities or for the pleasure of the Lord, getting your kids ready for school. So as you're listening, we'll try to share some thoughts on this verse. So the Sanskrit, Ya panchabhuta rachite rahita sharire Channo yatendriya gunartha chid atmakoham Tena vikunta mahimanam rishim tamenam Vande param prakriti purushayo pumamsam. I'll just go right to the translation. I am separated. This is the living entity, is described how the soul is praying to the Lord within the womb. What is their meditation? So continue with that. I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of 5 elements. And therefore my qualities and senses are being misused. Although I am essentially spiritual, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature and the living entities, because he is devoid of such a material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, I offer my obeisances unto him. Purport by his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that the living entity is prone to be subjected to material nature, whereas the Supreme Godhead is always transcendental to material nature as well as to the living entities. When the living entity is put into material nature, then his senses and qualities are polluted or designated. There's no possibility for the Supreme Lord to become embodied by material qualities or material senses, for he is above the influence of material nature and cannot possibly be put in the darkness of ignorance like the living entities. Because of his full knowledge, he is never subjected to the influence of material nature. Material nature is always under his control, and it is therefore not possible that the material nature can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the identity of the living entity is very minute, he is prone to be subjected to material nature. But when he is freed from this material body, which is false, he attains the same spiritual nature as the Supreme Lord. At that time, there is no qualitative difference between him and the Supreme Lord. But because he is not so quantitatively powerful as to never be put under the influence of material nature, he is quantitatively different from the Lord. The entire process of devotional service is to purify oneself of this contamination of material nature and put oneself on the spiritual platform where he is qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'll read that sentence again. The entire process of devotional service is to purify oneself of this contamination of material nature and put oneself on the spiritual platform where he is qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is said that the living entity is always free. Interesting. In the Vedas, it is said the living entity is always free. Asango yavyam purusha. The living entity is liberated. His material contamination is temporary, and his actual position is that he is liberated. This liberation is achieved by Krishna consciousness, which begins from the point of surrender. Therefore, it is said here, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person. I have not said the invocation, so I will do that now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse again. I'm separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of 5 elements, and therefore my qualities and senses are being misused. Although I am essentially spiritual. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature and the living entities, because he is devoid of such a material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, I offer my obeisances unto him. So this is very good news, Jai Srila Prabhupada. This is very good news for all of us. Just like today, it's cold, relatively cold, not so cold for Chicago, but there's snow on the ground. Where I live in Washington, D.C., I don't think there's snow on the ground. But because I'm in this material body, it feels cold. Some people, it's like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. It's snowing. We can go ice skating and skiing and tobogganing soon. It's good news. Other people, because we have different senses, it's like, oh no, another winter, another cold winter. Um, yeah, it's reminding me of a joke, but I'm not going to tell the joke yet. So it's good news. Just like, for me, it's cold. Climate, it's different climate. It was warmer where I was in DC. Come here, it gets cold. So, okay. In DC, I had some little allergies. Here, I've got a little bit of a, whatever, beginning of a cold or something. So I have to mute so I can blow my nose. But actually, that's not me. It's embarrassing I got to mute. It's embarrassing that I'm cold. It's embarrassing that, speaking to the men in the group, as you get older, most of us, you lose your hair. It's embarrassing if you're a woman and you've been, to at least a certain extent, since you were 4 years old, people are appreciating, oh, you're pretty, you're pretty, you're pretty. And as we know that spiritually, of course, it maintains, but the physical body, it decays. You know, the men that were told from the time you're 5 years old, oh, you're such a strong little boy, your strength diminishes. If we were known as being very sharp, intelligent, we see old people in this time. I don't know how much it was the case in the past. We don't read about it in the scripture. It seems to be a modern phenomena, but it's very common. People, they lose their mental and intellectual capacities as they get older, and it's very frightening for people. And they try different kind of, medicinal ways or herbal ways to minimize that, or do crossword puzzles will keep your brain sharp, or make sure you exercise because it'll keep you healthy. And these are all good things. We have no problem with that. But there's especially good news here, given in this verse. We should all kind of like rejoice in this news that actually it's not us. The world is caught up full of anxiety because they think it's me. It's me that's getting older. It's me that might lose my intellectual capacity. It's me that could lose my job, etc. So this is good news for us. Whatever health issues we have, it's like, hooray, it's not you. It's not you. It's superfluous to the soul. Whatever financial issues we have, and most of us at some stage of life, there's some financial issues. The mortgage payment's hard to make sometimes, or like I mentioned, being in DC, so many people, government employees, maybe in here in the Chicago area too, government employees, they're either told not to come to work or they have to go to work, but they're not getting paid. That's a lot of anxiety, but it's not you. You're not the body. We're the spirit soul is described here. I am separated from the Lord because of my material body. However, I am essentially spiritual. That's what this verse is stated. And it's interesting because the Bhagavatam, it's the same message again and again and again. You're not your body, you're eternal spirit soul. You have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. By the practice of bhakti yoga, you can regain that position. And all the happiness, the temporary happiness and distress of this world is superfluous to us. It's the same message again and again and again. Different sages explaining to different devotees that need the message in different ways, the same message again and again and again and again and again. And the Lord comes in different times and different places to rekindle our relationship with Him, as He describes in the Gita, to protect the devotees, to annihilate the miscreant elements, and to reestablish the principles of religion. So that's the Shastra is reminding us this again and again and again. So health issues, they're superfluous. Financial issues, they too will pass. Krishna's telling us. Relationship issues, we all know we're social beings. Sometimes the relationship with the boss is great. You can get transferred to another department, and for 5 years you got to struggle under a boss that's not a very good communicator, doesn't seem to really care about their people, or sometimes relationships with the spouse, it's really close. Other times there's some strain in the relationship. Sometimes the kids, sometimes the parents, sometimes the brothers, the siblings, all these different, the neighbors, these relationships, sometimes they're like so-called good, sometimes they're so-called bad, but they're always in a sense bad because they're never steady. One day it's good, next day troublesome. So we're not these relationships. We have a more important relationship. That's what's being expressed here. So job issues, these days a lot of people in our community, visa issues, political issues. I live in DC, a lot of problems with political issues, social issues. This verse is reminding us, actually, in the ultimate sense, as it says, although I am essentially spiritual, all of these experiences I'm having, it's misuse of me. It's a misuse of my time in my life because I'm not these senses, I'm not the body. They're all superfluous to us. Now, it's important that we understand that doesn't mean they're not real. There are some philosophies and schools of thought that will say it's not real. We say it's real. Just like I'm sitting here at a desk and there's a real box of Kleenex here. Thank goodness, because otherwise my sinuses would cause me even more pain. But this is a temporary box. It's only going to be here a short time. It's going to run out. And the box itself is made of material elements. It's going to decay. My cold or whatever it is, not a big thing, but whatever it is, it's going to pass. The whole body is going to pass. It's temporary, but it's real. So we, as Vaishnavas, it's not that we're callous to these things. It's our duty to take care of our health. It's our duty to take care of our children. It's our duty to be a responsible employee or employer, to be good neighbor and all those kind of things. Prabhupada actually describes that Vaishnavas should be more attentive to the things of this world because in the ultimate sense, he describes nothing as material in the sense that everything is connected with Krishna. Everything ultimately, the house is Krishna's house. This body, temporary, but it belongs to Krishna, so I should use it for him. I should take care of it. I'm part and parcel of Krishna, so everything in this world is important in that sense that is connected to Krishna. But I don't give too much attention to the temporary manifestations because I know ultimately there's an eternal, purely spiritual manifestation of relationships, of duty, of activities. So I'm very, very attentive. And in fact, if you look at it, it's interesting because, when we're under influence of materialistic conceptions or materialistic people, I mean, they spend a lot of time, we sometimes waste a lot of time on things that aren't so important. If we cut back those things a little bit, little bit, we have so much time. Just like, chanting japa, sometimes it's hard to figure out how to fit it in. Well, just imagine if you watched, movies for 4 hours every night, or if you were on social media just chatting or looking at your Facebook nonsense things, unnecessary things at least, for 3 hours a day, how are you going to have any time for spiritual life? So we minimize those things and we have more time for our spiritual practices. So that's the good news, that I'm separated from the Lord because I have this material body, but I'm essentially spiritual. And the Lord is completely transcendental, and we can have faith because he's transcendental, he can get us out of here, just like the analogy is given many times in the Shastra. We've fallen into this well of material life, and the analogy is given just like if you're walking through some woods or a field or something, there's an abandoned well and nobody put a cover on it, they didn't close it up, and you fall down into the well, a narrow well, and you're whatever, 50 feet down, how are you going to get out? You can't get out. It's not possible. That's the analogy that's given. But if somebody comes and throws a rope down, if you hold on to the rope, they can pull you out. So in the same way, we ourselves do not have the capacity to get out of this material entanglement, the well of material life, the ocean described sometimes, the forest, material experience, birth, death, old age, and disease. We don't have the capacity to get out, but Krishna is the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead, as described here. Our position and his position, and he can get us out. And not only can he get us out, he wants to get us out. And not only does he want to get us out, he gives us unlimited chances to get out. And not only does he give us unlimited chances to get out, but even if we offend him, and if we've ignored him for so many years, lifetimes, maybe millions of lifetimes, he doesn't hold that against us. He knows we have an eternal relationship with him. So as it's described here, the soul stuck in the material world, the Lord transcendental, the Lord wants to get us out. But as it described, I have to free myself. I have to make the conscious decision. I want to become free from this material entanglement by accepting Krishna's mercy, Vaishnava's mercy, Guru's mercy, by the process of bhakti yoga. Some place in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes, he says it's completely dependent upon the endeavor of the individual. Of course, we know it's completely dependent upon the mercy of Krishna, but Krishna gives us his mercy. It's up to us to respond. It's up to us to, he gives us instructions. We have the choice to follow those instructions or not. He throws us the rope to pull us out. We have the choice to cling onto the rope or to let go. And it's an interesting analogy because if we imagine if you're in a well and somebody throws you the rope and they start pulling you out, are you immediately like happy and free from stress? Not at all, at least as I would envision it. It's like there's this rope, and what if I let go? I'm going to plunge back into the water, and on the way up, there's sharp rocks, and maybe they pull you through a bunch of cobwebs, or there's spiders, or maybe snakes on the side of in the bricks on the side of the well as they're pulled. There's some challenges on the way out of the well, but if you don't let go, they're going to pull you out of the well. So in the same way, by Krishna's mercy, he is pulling us out by the process of devotional service of bhakti yoga, of spiritual connecting to Krishna. So in this age, we know, we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, so we're very blessed to have the mercy and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and all the predecessor acharyas back to Lord Chaitanya, who came in this particular age to give this most sublime and simple process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. There's many mantras and they have their various effects. There's many different processes of religion, as we discussed the other day, and we wish all people well who are subscribed to some other process of religious practice. But for us, we have faith, we have intellectual understanding, and we have some experience that by this process of chanting Hare Krishna, associating with devotees, that it's easy and it's enjoyable. It's actually very pleasant. Like when we get together, the youth last night at the temple, they all want to hang out with their friends and do what? Chant God's names in the temple. That's pretty amazing. Not most teenagers in America, that wouldn't be their first choice. If you gave them a list, do you want to, go to the mall? You want to do this, you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to go to the temple and chant God's names. That wouldn't be in the top 10, maybe wouldn't even be in the top for most people. There's some religious teenagers, of course, outside of our society. But most teenagers, that would not be their first priority. But so many of our kids, they're really prioritizing that. They have other interests, of course, as we all do. They have other responsibilities, other duties, but they actually have a taste for chanting Hare Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya came to give this very easy process. As Prabhupada would say many, many times, chant, dance, and take prasadam. Sometimes I've heard on lectures, Prabhupada says, you chant and you dance until you're a little tired, then you take prasadam, then you chant and dance more. So he was explaining how Lord Chaitanya's made it such an easy process. But as we were discussing yesterday, the process is easy, but sometimes the application is difficult. And that, in a sense, is we make it difficult. We're holding on to the rope and they're pulling us out of the well, but we're thinking, well, maybe I'll slip. Well, maybe this rope's not very good. Maybe the rope's going to break. Maybe the person pulling the rope isn't so good. What are they going to pull me through on the way up the rope? And oh my gosh, look at that's an interesting spider on the side of the well. Maybe I should stop here and study him for a little bit, etc. We make it difficult because of the distractions of our mind and our senses. And therefore, it's described in the Upaneshamrita that one should practice Krishna consciousness. Three things are required, it says, to be successful in the process. Three of six. Six are pointed out specifically. But the one, we have to be a little patient. Our mind's not going to quiet down overnight. Our senses definitely are not going to quiet down overnight. So we have to be a little patient. Two, we have to be enthusiastic. We're very enthusiastic. Our habits are very enthusiastic for materialistic things. We have to at least be that enthusiastic for a spiritual life. So we should chant with enthusiasm. We should dance with enthusiasm. We should do service with enthusiasm. We should try to associate with devotees with enthusiasm. And it's described, even if you don't feel enthusiastic, we should put out that energy to be enthusiastic, and the feeling will come. So patience, enthusiasm, and also confidence. So that's described in this verse. Part of where this confidence comes from is because we know the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We know that He is transcendental this material world. We know that He is very, very kind to us. And we know that He actually wants to help us. He not only wants to help us, He will help us, and He is helping us. So we have faith in that, and therefore we apply ourselves very seriously when Prabhupada says, the entire process of devotional service, I'm quoting, is to purify oneself of this contamination of material nature and put oneself on the spiritual platform, where he or she, qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of God. And this is a phenomenal statement. In the Vedas, it is said the living entity is always free. So the soul, this is again going back to my original point. This is the good news. We may be struggling, and we are at various times of life, maybe various times during the day, struggling with different things. The kids are being really difficult. The boss is being difficult. Our mind is being difficult. The weather is being difficult. The traffic's being difficult. Some days it's, oh, there's no traffic. How this is nice. Oh, the kids are being perfect angels today. Oh, my husband and my wife, they noticed I did this or that for them, and they're so grateful. Mataras parsas tukunteya shitos na sukadukada, happiness and distress in this world that comes and goes. But we continue on in our devotional service with enthusiasm, with confidence, and with patience, knowing that actually this good news is wonderful. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm actually an eternal servant of Krishna. He's helping me. And if I continue on with the process of purification, I will again realize my liberated position, that I actually am qualitatively not different from Krishna, full of knowledge, full of joy, full of bliss, eternal. That's our constitutional position as given by our acharyas and by the Shastra. And as we go on in Krishna consciousness, kind of like initially it's like it's a hope, and then it becomes intellectually the reality. We've heard it, we repeat it, we gradually we develop more and more faith in it, and gradually we experience the truth of it. That's our process. So it's 7:58 Central Time, so I'll stop there. Perhaps there's some questions. I know sometimes I understand this Sangha morning class goes for a half an hour. Sometimes you go an extra 15 minutes. If some of you need to rush your kids or yourself or your spouse to work, please feel free to do that. And otherwise, I can stand for a few minutes if there's any discussion points anybody would like to make, add to this, or if you'd like to any questions at all. So I don't know if there's a controller of this or if you just unmute yourselves and ask questions, but as you like. Right now on my screen it says you're all muted. That means you're running around cleaning dishes or flipping the chapatis that you're going to offer to Krishna or something like that. Anybody have a question? Anybody want to unmute yourself or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
I will go Bahari Prabhu.
Prabhu, I really liked one point you had made, which connected with today's class, also reminded me of it, that this mature life is like a train, and we, the seats are broken sometimes, or this or that, and just like when we're on the train, we focus on the goal, not the journey. I mean, the journey is important also, but we don't worry too much about the seats and things, because we know that we're reaching the goal. And we have the goal in mind, the destination in mind. In the same way, we in mature life, like you were saying today, like we get sidetracked with so many things, Facebook and all these different things. But if we don't, and we focus on the destination, then there's so much time for spiritual development. And so I guess it's about focusing on what's essential, because some small things are also important, like you mentioned, spending time with family and these things, but focusing on what's essential and keeping the destination in mind. Did I understand this correctly?
Yeah, no, that's well put. And you use the word essential. That very word is in the verse today where the living entity is confirming, I am essentially spiritual. And it's so nice because even like, okay, I gave class this morning and others of you give the class or you give classes to each other, different formats. Um, we get strength hearing from each other, just like Gopal hearing you kind of summarize some of the things that you heard or from the verse or things that you've seen before. Um, my hearing from you reinforces it in me. And I was just thinking the other day how phenomenal it is that Srila Prabhupada had such deep faith, realization, conviction, determination, and strength. He's by himself. I mean, in those, it wasn't like, Prabhupada picked up the phone and called India to talk to some of his godbrothers to reassure him that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wants you to do this. It's not like, he could pick up his computer and do have a WhatsApp chat with somebody or send a text message and people would get back to him. He was sharing some letters, mostly asking for some help from India, none of which came. Even that, it didn't phase him. So such phenomenal conviction that Prabhupada had. And because of his conviction, so many of us have been blessed and become convinced. Just like we're reading, these commentaries. Prabhupada translated the books. The books weren't available. A few scholars had access to the Bhagavatam, but not many. He translated the books. He made commentary on the text. He inspired his disciples and instructed them to translate it into whatever it is now, 80, 100 languages around the world. Inspired them to publish it, make available to people around the world. So, such deep realization and conviction. And we're not there, obviously, and therefore especially important for us to have association of devotees because it reinforces. And we shouldn't think that being a devotee means, you never have a difficult day or week or month or year. It doesn't mean that, okay, now I'm a devotee and I never have doubts. Sometimes devotees think like this. We put this pressure on ourselves to try to be on such a high platform, which is not where we are. And then if some, strong wind comes along, you get blown over or overboard, so to speak. So better that we carefully, consciously tie ourselves to the association of devotees, develop deep relationships, honest relationships, have at least one or two friends that we can confide in when, we're able to say, I'm really struggling with this, I'm having a doubt about that, or I'm not having time to do what I really would like to do for Krishna because of these other obligations. To reveal our minds like that and get strength from each other. And when we do that, then we weather the storm. And a few days, a few weeks, a few months later, that cloud passes, and we're strengthened by that realization that by taking shelter in Krishna and Shastra and chanting and all different prasa devotional service, and especially Vaishnava Sangha, then that gives us strength to continue on and to encourage others in their spiritual life. So just reflecting back to you, Gopal Prabhu, on the comments that you made.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else question or comments? Anybody or Gopal, any follow-up or anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Uh, in this section, Prabhu, the living entity in the womb prays to the Lord very deeply or very, I mean, lot of realizations, right? It's not a theoretical knowledge. I mean, though the living entity is going through a lot of suffering in that condition, it prays so sincerely, right? But later on in this section, in these verses, Lord Kapila Muni says, as soon as it comes out, forgets it, right? So
Yeah, I
how
think
is it?
it specifically mentions the shock of birth. It's such a trauma, just like so many people studying trauma. It's such a traumatic experience that they forget.
Oh, okay. Because it was, I mean, the living entity is very fortunate to remember the Lord. I mean, it's not that everybody able to remember and able to see the Supreme Lord. I mean, it's a super soul, and then have, I mean, so deep prayers, right? It's all possible because I think Prabhupada says with the mercy of the Lord. But then, I mean, I'm just trying to think, how is it with that trauma? I mean, it forgets it, right? I mean, it's such a, I mean, it is not a temporary thing that the living entity is able to remember the Lord. It's, I mean, it's bhakti, right? I mean, that's what I'm thinking, Prabhu. I mean,
Yeah, and I think it specifically mentions a pious soul. It's not that every soul taking birth in human life has such deep realizations. This is the probably various degrees of awareness. I mean, so many people pray to God. I mean, some people pray to God when there's an accident. They never think of God, but oh God,
hmm.
and they get cut off from the driveway. They're oh God. That's the one time they call out. That's the nature of the soul. It's deep. It's inherent in all of us, no matter how covered over we may be. So yeah, the soul is praying to Krishna and then forgets when they come out. So then you had a specific question in that, or you were just reflecting on how.
Yeah, just reflecting on it, Prabhu. I mean, I don't, I mean, just thinking, hearing from you, right? What you say about that. I mean, how is it? I mean, I mean, if that happens, even that kind of person, I mean, remembering the Lord and able to recognize the pain going through is because of his own mistakes, right? Not, I mean, ascribing that to the Lord or somebody else, right? I mean, yesterday's verse, I think it was talking about just my own misdeeds I'm put into this condition. But again, as soon as it comes out, forgets it. I mean, it's like, then what about the common people, right? I mean, so I was just
Well, it's
thinking.
interesting because, just listening to your comments, I'm thinking this is like prayerfulness and forgetfulness is going on our whole life, isn't it? I mean, you go to the temple, you hear some nice class, have a nice kirtan, and then, you walk out the door and something happens, immediately you forget Krishna, isn't it? Or you're feeling
Yes,
very
Prabhu.
blissful, you're feeling very blissful, and then you walk out and, there was a storm overnight and the tree fell down on your car, and all of a sudden you're right back in the pain of the material world. The moment before you were feeling very transcendental. So or we're trying to be Krishna conscious, and then the material energy offers some temptation. It's like, oh Krishna, I want to surrender to you, and then it's like, but I think I want to go enjoy that first, isn't it?
Yes.
So we're slowly, probably use the word he says slowly too, but gradually, slowly being reminded, no, actually, it is only Krishna. We only need Krishna. Everything else, of course, as I mentioned, is connected to Krishna. We use it in service. We're dutiful parents and students and employers and all that. But the bottom line, the only thing that has really lasting value is our relationship with Krishna. And we're gradually becoming convinced of that. And it takes time because of, Prabhupada mentioned sometimes, just because of habits. It's described here, our senses are so distracted by the material energy. And Prabhupada mentions because we're very minute, we're prone to be subjected to material nature. So we're prone to that, but the process of bhakti to purify ourselves from this. He uses again the word contamination. So it's gradually becoming convinced of Krishna. The Upanishad, Isha Upanishad describes knowledge of transcendence of Krishna and his all attractive qualities, and nescience at the same time. So gradually realizing this world is not what it's marketed to be, and Krishna is everything we want him to be. So that gradual realization. So this whole process in the womb, the living entity is praying, pious living entity. Then we come out and pampered by so many people, and the whole world revolves around you, or your mother, your father. Everybody's scurrying to try to make you happy. And the illusion sets in. Um, And despite the happiness and distress that's there, Krishna is constantly trying to remind us that this is not our home. So we have to constantly try to take his recommendation.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Premananda said maybe we could go till 8:15. So if there's maybe one more comment or question anybody like to make, otherwise we can quit here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you
All
so
right,
much for the enlightening class. I just have, I don't know if it's a question, but just one realization that the analogy you gave about falling down in the well. And so I'm just thinking that how important it is to have faith and total surrender. So Krishna is sending Vaishnavas, gurus, Shastra, everything to pull you up. And it's our, faith and surrender that can pull us up. Otherwise, we cannot. And then I was also thinking that we have, like you said, that the qualities that are important, like enthusiasm. So we have to have confidence and enthusiasm to pull us up with the help of Guru Shastra, so otherwise it is not possible if both are important. Because if somebody is trying to pull us up and we don't have, you know, courage to do that, and we don't have enthusiasm and faith and total surrender, it is just not possible. So that thank you so much for bringing that up. That was really helpful.
Thank you. Those are very nice reflections. And I'll just add one thing. Um, you nicely describe the qualities necessary for us to be part of this relationship with Krishna, to take shelter of him so that he can deliver us from this material world. And also we know we're not so qualified, we're not so faithful, we're not so patient and enthusiasm. But if we continue trying, he'll help us. He'll, as he says in the Gita, I'll carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So we have a little bit, he'll give us more. So sometimes we may, slip from the standard. We lose our anger, or we say things we're not supposed to say, or we contemplate things we know aren't good for us, or whatever may distract us. That, in one sense, it's okay. Just don't give up the process. And I was just thinking, there's a lecture I heard Prabhupada was describing that if we just chant Hare Krishna sincerely, everything will come. He said like that. Just chant sincerely, everything will come. So we may have so many shortcomings and obstacles and problems. He said, just chant sincerely, everything will come. Then he paused, and this is the most important part, I think. He paused and he said, what sincerely? Just chant Hare Krishna and sincerity will come.
That's the hope, Prabhu.
Yeah, yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope, and that's the instruction, and that's the gradual experience.
Yes.
And just end with this, it's not sometimes we think, well, spiritual life, you start, it's just going to get like better and better and better and better and better. And then we get disturbed because sometimes it's kind of like this, it goes up and then there's some down, and then it goes up and there's some down. That's part of it, my experience and others as well. But gradually, it's going up and it's going down, but we're making our way across the mountain of material existence. So the little ebbs and flows that may come because of our karma or some exterior force, we shouldn't be disturbed by that. Those are just temporary distractions. And as we go on in our Christian consciousness, they'll gradually become less and less distracting.
Thank you.
So I think it's almost 8:15, so maybe we'll quit here. Very nice to be with everybody. There's a home program somewhere tonight. I know it's Monday nights midweek, but if anybody's free to come, please do so. It's nice to have your association. And thank you all very much. I hope you have a very blessed day, remembering the Lord and remembering that He's the supreme enjoyer of all our sacrifices. And if we think, okay, Krishna, I'm going to work for you, I'm going to work hard for you, or I'm cooking for the kids for you, I'm cleaning the house for you, I'm getting the car fixed, calling AAA for you, whatever it may be today, whatever our destiny is, if we remember that it's for Krishna, we will feel connected to Him. And even the most insignificant, mundane things will become sources of spiritual inspiration because we know that actually everything is for His pleasure. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.